Essentially, the little Discord group that we have um, has this website, declarative.tv, and we basically use it to tell when people are alive. The problem is a uh, doesn't support um, doesn't support YouTube, so this is linked to my Twitch, which I don't use anymore. Um, and so the idea would be like, okay, we want to know a few things. We want to know which of these people are like active actively streaming regularly. So like for example, I haven't been streaming regularly, so I probably shouldn't show up on this list. And this thing is like linked to a GitHub page where we try to keep this thing up to date, but it falls out of date really, really quickly and really easily. So it would be ideal if it was like much easier to track this stuff and worked across um, different streaming platforms. So yeah, that's the basic idea. And so that's like the reason I want to build this application. The second part of the application is it's about like actually doing things correctly. So if if I uh, built like a servant app, I could probably build one that worked. Um, but what I would like to do instead is build one that I can use as an example for other people to write um, actual servant applications. So I made the joke of like putting the H in Chad's stack on Twitter, but like Haskell is an extremely viable programming language, especially for web applications. And I even saw this other thing today that was talking about how the performance of like writing what would be called clean code is actually super slow. And if you just used enums and case statements, things would be relatively fast. And so I thought that was kind of funny to think about because um, in Haskell, you basically just code with enums and case statements or switch statements, whatever you want to call them. So it makes life pretty easy to just work on this. Now, this to do is out of date, unfortunately, because everything's out of date. But the whole point of this is to document like how you would write a servant application. And so I was working in this code yesterday. So basically, the the underlying application server called Warp allows us to handle exceptions at the Warp layer. And so we moved our exceptions out of the servant layer and into the Warp layer. And so what that basically allows us to do is clean up the following code. This down here. So we have this like natural transformation that converts our application monad, app m, into handler, which is servant's application monad. And it basically used to have like error logic handling in here. But now it's just simply a run reader T and then basically a try and then a wrapping into servant's monad. So that's all this thing is. It's a basic servant application right now, but we're trying to work on the error handling part. So I pulled the default implementations of these functions so that I could work with them. The basic thing I'm trying to get working is this run ktip context bit. Um, in theory, I can also just add ktip to this because I can get app. So if I do ktip m, I think I just get this part for free, and then I can just do that. And I think this should compile. It looks like it does. And we no longer need this bit. And so therefore we also, that do is completely unnecessary. So the idea here is like, when we get an exception from our application, we would just like to log it. We could, send it somewhere. Um, and, the other thing that this is doing is like ensuring that we don't display like every single error that's possible. It's mostly just the errors that are reasonable to display for a servant application. Okay, and then over here we need to like call this error handler, and the way we do that is using this set on exception function. And I think that we should be able to make this work by doing warp set on exception. And then this thing has to take a lambda of the arguments. So, oh, that's not where I want to be. I want to be here. This is where I want to be either. I want to be here. And so this thing takes 2 arguments and then like does the thing. So we're going to take those arguments and probably run reader, and then potentially we need a lift IO here. I'm not exactly sure yet. So what does this thing take? M request, and it takes some exception, and then we want to call our function exception on exception with those things. Okay. And this thing needs to be like lifted into an IO context, I think. And the other thing is clearly we can't do this. And so this needs to be like this. And we're going to have to get our settings from the application settings, I think. And then just run settings. Oh, but this is kind of weird, right? Because I don't really need to wrap this anymore. Okay, and then you can see here how this thing requires an environment. And so this is actually another layer of run reader. Whoops. So we need to run reader this thing with our environment. Oh, I see. Do I see? What am I doing here? What did I have before? I'm a little confused here. I don't think I need any of this. I think I just need this part. And then here I need run reader. Oh no, I've already created that. I don't need to do this either. I think this is all I need to do. Okay, and then this is going to complain seemingly. So we got to figure out what this is complaining about. Oops, wrong one. That's also the wrong one. Let's just what is it? That work? Just do the handy. Oh, actually, this isn't gonna work for main. So I don't remember how to display this exception with what the code or the no. Okay, so we can just why doesn't that keep work either? Full error. Okay, so this thing is a monad reader. So actually it does need app to function properly. And then what we can do is we can say Uh, Probably run reader this whole thing with our app. It's kind of awkward that I call that app, by the way. So this thing's going to take an nth. Okay, and then this thing is supposed to take should it match type unit with IO unit. So do I need to lift IO this whole thing? No. What is this error? Hard to read here. So yep. And then monad IO. Then this just takes an M unit. What does this thing return? Oops. This thing needs to return settings. Very confused. Set on exception. Let's go look at set on it. So this needs to take a lambda. Okay, that's useful. So this is a lambda, but then it does take setting. I don't understand. So default settings should take the settings and pass them here. And so then we say set on exception takes a lambda, and it should take settings over here. Like there should be settings on the right side. So that seems fine. And then this thing is the entirety of the computation that we're trying to run. And so we need to provide it with app because it's a monad reader, and then be okay. But this thing returns unit. Am I doing run reader wrong? Okay, this is more interesting. Okay, so I can't do ktip, which is fine because I had like an example of how to deal with that before. So if we just do this, then we can remove the ktip from this thing, and then this compiles. Okay, there we go. This isn't like perfect, but like we need to log this outside. Like we want to put this log somewhere. Maybe we want to like send this to some other service or whatever. So we'll just call this the exception scope. And then okay, so how does this thing work? So run ktip context t takes a ktip environment. So this is our log environment that's created when we instantiate the application. And then are you guys not getting any audio? That would be insane. It says the audio's current bit rate 0 is lower than the recommended bit rate. But like obviously I have a bit rate. If somebody is watching, can you just type if you get audio? It would be crazy if you didn't. But well, it would be crazy if you're watching and you didn't get audio. Uh Stream audio. The audio bitrate is 160. So it should be fine. Okay, cool. Oh, somebody liked it. Thanks for liking the stream. So now we can make run, and we should be able to make this work. So this is a little wonky because we can't do ktip and IO. It would be nice if we could. I don't know why we can't. It probably has something to do with the way we set up our logging. So we have this like make app function, and well, I think all of these things just describe this. So this is like totally fine. So why don't I have, oops, wrong thing. Up. And then so why can't I do this exactly? I'm very confused. Um so if I look at this, like I have all the mechanisms here. So in theory, I should be able to ktip m here. And let's make sure it's actually ktip m. So if we go to our app over here and we look at our application context, you can see it's just ktip m. So that looks fine. And then in theory, that implies we should be able to remove this and this and this, which we did before. And then this complained. Well, let's see if it still complains. Maybe it was because I didn't have run reader T there. Yep. So this whole thing complained, but what if we lift IO the whole thing now? Understand. Maybe there's a ktip thing we can use here. Google ktip. Because I have app m, so I don't understand why this can't run. Very confused. Create a reasonable default init. Okay, that's not what I want. Those are just those pieces. Okay, so monads where ktip logging actions can be performed. Ktip is the most basic logging monad. You'll typically use this directly if either. Yeah, but I have monad IO. So why are you complaining? I don't understand. Like, why doesn't this complain in API? Oops, this one. here. Maybe I should just use the application environment. What if I do that? And then I just do it like similar. Um, so all of these things happen in app m. So what if we just make this app m? Get that, and then make this the app context context m. Oh, I don't need app m if I do that. Okay. Um, so we have the app context like this, and then here it's not complaining anymore. Okay, it's still complaining. Because this whole thing I'm so confused. The whole thing is hmm, just complaining. So this thing is an app m unit. So if we run that, we get a reader TIO. Then if we run reader T, we should have IO. What's the problem here? What is this? This is to find an app. I'm very confused. What am I doing wrong here? These aren't even the same errors. So what needs to go here? There we go. Okay, so this is the error. Yeah, and then okay, this makes sense because it doesn't have this app context. But if we do this, then this whole thing should compile, I think. And then that way we can just use the regular run app m function, and then it should compile. Okay, that makes sense, actually. So this should work. It does. Well, it would be nice if it said something like, I started working. So yeah, this is a little tricky because we have like multiple layers of our app. So it's like you have like app in the servant context, and then this is like app outside the servant context. So we'll need to think about a better way to deal with this. But it would be nice if we could make this work. Now, one question becomes, can I make this app m settings and then not have to do all this run reader nonsense? Let's find out. So this is going to require a pure because it's a reader. And then what if we get rid of this, and then we get rid of all of this? Oh, well, we could almost get rid of all this, I guess. Because I don't think this is going to compile, because this still needs to be IO. So here, I think we would lift. No, because that is also app. And we can't really. Okay, so I don't think we can do that. I think this is like a place where we have to like run the. Okay, get rid of that, and then this becomes app. We could make this one a monad reader, I suppose, and then at least then we don't have to pass in app as an argument. But like, what's the difference at this point? I think this is probably fine. We could probably refactor that too. Oh, and I deleted a to do here. I don't know where this needs to go, but we'll figure this out. So that's like that. And then the next bit that I wanted to do was very similar with on exception, but we're gonna do this other set on exception one. I think if I click this, it's kind of copy paste it. Also, if you have any questions, like feel free to ask. I think there isn't that many people here, so not a big deal. So I want to go grab like the default implementation of this for now, and then X. Okay, is there a default set on exception? Default set on. I don't think there is. Oh, it's right here. Okay, so let's grab this default on exception response. Grab the source. Okay, and then we are going to take this here. It's me. Okay. So we're gonna grab, oops, this. Yep. We're gonna add that. What is H here? Do. network HTTP type. Sure. This will probably just in as needed. Okay, so we need HTTP types, which will go here, I guess. Is that correct? Nope. Okay. And this for now. For some reason, those keybinds don't work, so we'll just, that's not what I do. I don't understand the difference between vertical and horizontal, apparently. And then we'll just run this over here so we can see all the errors as they pop up. And then we'll do source warp exception. Then we'll start down here. So this, that, 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 that. This comes from apparently 2. Okay, and then this is like the kinds of things that can go wrong. So this is just the default one. Okay, so we're sending 400 for invalid request. Okay. I think you can do lists like this. I don't remember. Okay, and then so 413, 431, 400, else 500. Okay, so customize in the future. Okay, now we're just gonna reuse this function to make our settings. Because this one is actually way more straightforward. Because this one is just like returning the thing. So in our settings, wherever I put that, I think it was in our main file. We're just gonna do warp set on, what's it called? Set on exception response. Exception. This thing will take the settings and we're gonna say exception. What was it? Default? There's no reason to call it default because it's like literally now ours. I also want to convert this to a case statement because reasons. Wait, why is this just? That's interesting. Are these? Oh, I see it. It's right here from exception E. It's like basically trying to pattern match on various versions of this thing. So, actually, I think that this is probably better because we don't have this like weird problem. Okay, so there's that, and then it's like on exception response, and that should work. So there's our application settings with both our exception handlers defined so that you can see them instead of them being like something that happens in the background. Um, yeah. So we'll deal with this like we should probably also call this like warp settings because it's like not really our application. It's like our server settings or something. So we can just call this warp setting. Nope. I assume there's no. So any of the warp settings we can start setting here, which is nice. And we can move this anywhere we want at some point. We don't have to add it here, but I think it's not. Alrighty. What next? Don't remember. So let's update the README and then. So we're not really using Colog. I actually thought Colog didn't work very well for us. We switched to Ktip, and I actually like this better for two reasons. It's simpler, and it operates directly in like a simpler IO. It's basically another reader T over IO situation. Um, excuse me. So let's GitHub probably, and we Colog was a little too complicated for me. I kind of agreed, or it's really not that much more complicated. It's just that this is easier. Ktip is simpler. We're already doing JSON in our web framework, so like being able to have JSON is just really easy. So let's just change this. We'll lie. We did add Colog, but we preferred Ktip, and I think there was some directions on how to do this somewhere. Also, maybe eventually we want to switch this to Elasticsearch, for example. And so, okay. So we use the directions basically here. I probably should get a. Oh, this is fine. Hello? Mm. Okay, so I think that also these are backwards. So if I recall correctly, this is supposed to be envy. This used this in. Wait, what did I write here? This library. 3. And actually, there's kind of a clever um, formatting thing I noticed is that the gray. Notice the gray. I thought that was kind of clever. Ktip setup. And this is exactly the same. Okay. Okay, now this is where things are going to change a little bit because I don't actually want to do this. So I think we're going to use we're gonna do this. We're gonna use Esqueleto because I really like Esqueleto, and I think that is it just makes writing SQL a bit easier. Um, I was considering using PostgresQl because, well, as the name suggests, it's relatively simple. However, um, you are you can write SQL that's like straight up wrong, and so Esqueleto kind of like helps prevent that. So I think we're gonna use Esqueleto or Esqueleto. I always do that. And we'll use this instead. And I think the new like experimental syntax is like much easier, and it's pretty nice. Let's look at this little guy. Pretty cool. Okay, So yeah, this is like the idea is that we're gonna have these things, and then we're gonna have some persistent models that sit elsewhere. We'll like put those together, and then we'll start writing our our pieces. So we need to get this going. Yeah, we need two things. So I'm gonna record this into here. Squalato from here, and then persistent comes from, well, wherever persistent is. Oh, I should leave this open. Okay. Yep. And then no, I want to go here. Okay. So there's persistent and that. Why does it not look the right way? Oops. Man, closing is so slow. Why does this look funny? I don't know. There must be some syntax about, oh, it's probably confused because this plus this is like one of these, and you can have spaces between these things. Okay, you can have up to one space between them. Okay, that's funny. So if you put two spaces, it's fine, but so for this thing, we need like we need to set up a run db function and go from there. So that's kind of like what we're doing next, probably. So step one is going to be adding these things. So squaleto, then persistent goes somewhere down. Oh, I should probably commit the code first. Hang on. This. And then so we basically are doing that next. We set up our warp settings, and we added um our on exception handlers. Okay, cool. So then here we can do. Then we got to get those things. So the reason I run this dir and reload thing is that those things come from Nix, and I'm setting up. I have like a Nix shell that brings all of my libraries in, so I don't have to like think about it. Um, and then yeah, I can just like do the things that I need to do. So now I should have both esqueleto and persistent in here, and the first thing we're gonna have to do is add like database models. So we're gonna have probably database models or model because they're kind of like singular. And then obviously we need a dash p here. So let's put an example model in here. I think that I already wrote one. Did I or did I not? I don't think that I did. What's in database? Let's put like a. What am I going to need a model for? Um, I don't know, like a streamer or something. Like who you are. Sure, let's just do that for now. Oh, okay. So what's in here? Oh, right. This just has like my connection count stuff. So there's really not much in here. So we can just start with like a fake model just to get going. We're going to need template Haskell to make this work. Certainly redundant at the moment, but it won't be shortly. Database model model str. So again, I don't really know what this is going to be yet, but we basically need to put in a persistent model to make this work. So let's do that. Okay. The documentation is in the book. So let's just go get the book. And then we'll add one of these. Except we don't want all this stuff. Maybe I can just do. What's the simplest version of this? This one. Okay, let's do this. I keep pressing the wrong. All right, so we're going to move all of this up here. That's going to now be redundant. Okay, we don't want this. What we want is postgres. I don't. It might be postgresql like that. But we need to figure out which one is which. So I think there's like a persist int postgres. I don't. Why would I put Docker in that? So I need that one. Persistent postgres. So let's open up. I may not even need that anymore. Well, I need it for a little while, but we should start like deprecating out the Postgres simple stuff if we can. I also think you don't need resource pool. I think that's implemented for you, which is convenient. And then we can do again HPAC and then your end. So this will just again, we're just like bringing stuff in and making it a part of our GHC version. That's what we're doing. So from here, now we can open up these two things again. Or well, we don't really need the two things. We really just need this. And we can like implement a streamer. So a streamer is going to have like a handle. I wouldn't call it a name for obvious, maybe not obvious reasons, but no. So one other thing about using the DRN setup that I have is that I shouldn't have to do this. I should be able to DRN reload and just like do the thing. So I don't know what else we're gonna have. So I'm literally just going to make this for now because I want to just make this as simple as possible. So if I did DRN reload like that, then I should be able to just get Postgres and whatever it's called. Okay, so it's just like postgresql like that. And then it gives me some complaint that I need some some. Why doesn't it like show up here? That's really weird. Okay, anyway, it seems to want this. It seems to want this. It seems to want that. And maybe this. Okay, and then if we import my.prelude, I think we'll get text, so we can just do that. Does it really need this? Okay, so I think that this is like um, everything that we need. Now, what of these do we want to just turn on by default? I don't think we want to turn these ones on by default. I'm surprised that I don't have most of these turned on because I think they're all fine. Let's do that. So let's just like turn on all of these by default. See any reason not to. Okay. Oh, maybe undecidable instances is a little jacked. Second. Okay, I need to go, but this was super fun. I haven't streamed in a while, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'll catch you later, and next time we'll like keep working on the um. I think we'll keep working on this, but I think most of this is fine, except undecidable instances feels a little potentially scary to include. And then there's some duplicates in here now because I didn't notice them. Um, so anyway, I think this should compile now. Make build. Well, if I spelled build right. Perfect. Okay, catch y'all later.